I find myself in front of you today somewhat shaky, and I can't decide if it's because it's chilly or because it's such an exciting moment or because it's so emotional. And I think it's a combination of all of that. So forgive me for the shakiness, the shaky voice, the shaky hands. If you can see my knees, they're a little bit shaky as well. What an amazing day, what a wonderful day. You'll hear from others their perspective on why, but what I want to share is, first, we're thankful for the sunshine any time of year we can get it. Second, that here we are just 2 days after National Holiday, Veterans Day, opening a facility specifically for veterans, and I'm so grateful that the two come together like that. That we're able to honor and celebrate our veterans. Many of you are here today, and thank you so much for always providing your support to one another. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for protecting our freedoms that a lot of us sometimes take for granted. And we recognize that you stood on the front lines and protect us and protect our rights and our opportunities. So thank you so much for your service. And we also recognize veterans' families because you go through it at the same time that your person is serving. And that's what's so important. One of the important things about this property and this project was that we really wanted to make sure that we're recognizing veterans and their families. And so to the family members who didn't go overseas or who didn't serve, we say thank you to you as well for supporting your service member. This property is in part for you as well. So when we do openings like this, we need to make sure we're recognizing all of the partners and all of the people who made this happen. My name is Trell Anderson, and I'm the Executive Director of Northwest Housing Alternatives. And we certainly played a role here, but things like this don't happen. Large projects, small projects, community projects, without all of us coming together around a common cause. And the cause here was about providing housing opportunity for homeless veterans and their families. And so please just bear with me while I say some thank yous to some folks, and then we'll have other presenters and other speakers come up and share their thoughts as well. Today we will hear from State Representative Mark Meek. I'm delighted that he's here. Our Director of the State Department of Oregon Housing Community Services, Margaret Salazar, is here. Commissioner Paul Savas, representing your elected officials and the Board of County Commissioners, and then Mr. Clayton Mohr, who I have not yet met, and I am so excited to meet you. So thank yous first. Let me start by, at the event level, I want to say thank you to the NHA staff to pull this event together. Deb and Kristen and Nikolai, thank you for hosting us and making sure that everything is working for us for this celebration. One of our key partners and a longtime partner of Northwest Housing Alternatives is Walsh Construction. And I can tell you that over the years, Walsh Construction puts their heart and soul into every project that they do. But in this project, they went deeper and went further. And I know the good folks at Walsh, this is heartfelt for them. One of the examples is the little gift that they were able to provide for us, which when you walked in the front door, I don't know if you saw the American flag made out of wood posted up above the couch. That was a surprise gift by Walsh, a unique piece of art. The wood is harvested from some of the trees that had to come down here on the site. And so at Walsh, I want to specifically thank Brian Ware, Brandy Pine, Caitlin Kelly, and then Jay Neese, Mike Steffen, and Ed Sloop, all for your work, heart and soul on this project. Thank you to Walsh Construction. So CASA Architects, they're another key component of this. I want to thank CASA for making sure that the community room and the units all facilitate comfortable living, dignity and respect for our veterans and their families, and facilitate interaction and community space. And at CASA, I want to thank Kevin Sexton and Stella Chan. So thank you, CASA Architects. As I mentioned, one of the primary funders is Oregon Housing and Community Services. We can't do affordable housing and homeless services without their partnership and their participation. And so I mentioned we'll hear from Director Salazar later. But I also want to say thank you to Brad Lawrence, who's here. He's the underwriter that made sure that all of the financing lined up. Thank you, Brad. And then this project in particular has a deep partnership with Clackamas County. Several departments within Clackamas County participated, but again, there's funding from the Community Development Department, support from the Housing Authority, and so we owe Clackamas County and the elected officials we'll hear from later. But in particular, I want to say thank you to Chuck Robbins, who's recently retired and here in the audience as a longtime director of community development. And Jill Smith is here, the executive director of the Housing Authority. Thank you, Jill. And then Angel Sully, Tony Carter, Rich Malloy, and Mark Soroy, thank you for all that you did to help pull all of this together. Now, one person at the county that deserves really all the credit to get this thing started is Stephen McMurtry. So Stephen was at Northwest Housing Alternatives when this project started. It's partly his vision, his hard work to go find the site, to line up the partners, to pull the team together, and hold it through its entirety. And Stephen's here, and Stephen, I want to give you a personal thank you for bringing this thing through, and it wouldn't happen without you. And then Stephen's counterpart, at Northwest Housing Alternatives, we have an amazing project manager who I think Stephen actually hired to NHA. But Nikolai, I want to say thank you to you and being the awesome project manager to keep everybody in line. Some of you don't know this, but this is Nikolai's third project that he has in his portfolio right now. He's got 2 other projects under construction, one in Portland and one in Hermiston. But this is a testament to Nikolai's skills and abilities to hold all that together, work with 3 different development teams on a part-time schedule. So thank you, Nikolai. And then the remainder of our funders. So Meyer Memorial Trust contributed funds for the development. We say thank you to Meyer. The Home Depot Foundation made a grant to the project. The Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines contributed funds to the project. Chase Bank for the construction loan. I know that there are Chase representatives here. There's Bob. Thank you, Bob. And NOAA, the Network of Oregon Affordable Housing, is providing the permanent loan on the property at great interest rates. It's a specialty that they do across the state. I know we have Jake here from NOAA and others, and so we say thank you to all of these folks who come together. Like I said, it takes all of us coming together and working out the loan documents and the funding sources, so thank you to all of our funders. Okay, so my role was to say thank you to everyone, and it comes from the heart, and I appreciate all of your partnerships, not just here, but in the other projects we do together, projects that we will do together in the future, right, Jill? That we talked about, let's do more of these. So let me now bring up Representative Mark Meek. So I hope that many of you know your state representative, but Mark Meek served in the U.S. Air Force. He's a small business owner, has years of volunteerism in the community, including coaching high school football. He was elected to the Oregon House of Representatives in 2016. And since that time, I've gotten to know Representative Meek as a tremendous advocate for housing and affordable housing, and for veterans. And whenever we want to have a conversation about funding or programming for housing and for veterans, we turn to Mark and rely on his leadership to help pull that conversation through the state legislature. So I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to turn this over to you now. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Trell, for that wonderful introduction. And once again, thank you all for being here today. This is a very exciting time, and I'm very honored and just so pleased with this beautiful facility right behind us, this community here. And what one of the more reasons I'm very proud of is that it has been a collaborative effort from the city to the county to Northwest Housing Alternatives, NOAA, Financing, Meyer Memorial Trust, the state legislature, Oregon Housing and Community Services. It's been a village, it's been a group, it's been a collaborative effort, like I mentioned. And what makes me happy is because people come up to me and ask, what are you doing for homelessness? What are you doing for our veterans? And I can always mention that we're doing lots of stuff. We're doing a lot of funding. We're working on planning and organizing and putting boots on the ground to get things accomplished. But now I can turn and say, well, you can see one of our examples right behind us here, right in our own community. So I'm so excited. I want to thank all those partners again for all the great work you did to help us get to this position today. So let's one more time give a nice round of applause. I've had the honor and pleasure to represent our community, and to me, I bring my values. And why do veterans matter to me? Of course, I served in the Air Force, and it was peacetime. You know, I got a lot out of it, and I enjoyed the opportunity to serve my country. But I learned a lot, and I learned that freedom is not free. And one of the examples I had was my father. My father served in the United States Marine Corps, 8 years, 2 terms. He served in Vietnam, and Vietnam did a number on him. And there were cases. My dad's heart. We had a lot of friends during the time. A World War II veteran that was homeless, my dad brought in, and I'm 12 years old, wondering why is my dad bringing in this homeless guy to our house, to our community. But I learned the story. That gentleman ended up being a longtime friend of ours, served at Guadalcanal, and just, fell on hard times himself. So veterans and care for veterans has been very key to my own core of my values and beliefs. And so when I have a chance to support veterans and support housing, like I'm a realtor, I love helping people achieve the American dream. So when I can help folks achieve the American dream, but at least have a warm place to live and lay their head at night, to me that is fundamental and very important. So I'm your MC today. I get to introduce some of your speakers, but also I get to tell people that I love you, and I love everybody here today, and I love what we're doing for our community. And so since I'm a singer, I get to say I love you with a song. And so I'm going to sing America the Beautiful. So don't stand, just enjoy. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. So now I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our first speaker. And I've had the pleasure of working with this fabulous public servant for over 3 years now as a member of the Oregon Housing and Community. She's the Oregon Housing Community Services. I'm on the Human Services and Housing Committee in the Oregon Legislature, and I've been able to work with and partner with Margaret here from Oregon Housing and Community Services. She has been a vital part of our housing discussions, from nuts to bolts, funding to ideas, how we can, different opportunities throughout the state. She is at every event I go to, whether it's in Eastern Oregon or Southern Oregon or down in Corvallis, and right here today in Oregon City. Margaret was appointed as the Director of Oregon Housing and Community Services by Governor Kate Brown in September of 2016. And prior to her appointment, she served as Director of the Portland Field Office for U.S. Housing and Urban Development, where she represented the agency to housing providers and government officials throughout Oregon. So this is no new task for her. So she's dealt with a bunch of politicians and agency directors and leaders throughout the state, so she knows how to work with us. And one of the things I'm very proud of is that she convened partners and providers, local governments, and housing authorities to share and adopt best practices for ending veteran homelessness in communities across Oregon back in the early 2005 and 6 and 7 and 8, when it wasn't a very, wasn't on the top of our minds. She's very, I guess, intuitive and knows where we need to bring in resources. She's also, this is another story, a lot of our families have been displaced from their housing because they lived in manufactured home parks. She was one of the developers bringing ideas of how can our folks that are living in our manufactured home parks become owners of their properties and plan and predict their future without having to worry about losing their housing in the future. So she developed some funding mechanisms in the process in which our families could actually become homeowners of their own properties, even a manufactured home property. So great work. And so I've been very impressed with Margaret's work and her dedication to housing in our state, and I appreciate her leadership as she helps us continue the moving our moving the ball down the field to reach our goals. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome our Margaret Salazar, Director of Oregon Housing and Community Services.
Thank you so much, Representative, and thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you for making it impossible to follow you with that incredible song. I'm not even going to try, but I'm thrilled to be here today. As the representative said, I'm the Director of Oregon Housing and Community Services. We are your state housing agency, and our vision at OHCS is that all Oregonians have the opportunity to pursue prosperity and to live free from poverty. And so in support of that vision, we provide financial and program support all across the housing continuum to help open doors for our friends and neighbors across the state of Oregon through the development and preservation of affordable housing and housing solutions. So we were thrilled to be able to provide financing of more than $2 million to this development here today. And this is just such a great example of what we can do when we work together on a vision and we have that clear North Star to be able to follow to serve the veterans in our community together. So close to Veterans Day this week, it is fitting that we are gathered here today. We've been talking a lot about the issue of veteran homelessness, and I think we all agree that it is absolutely unacceptable that veterans that serve our country so honorably would come home to their home community and face the specter of homelessness. We need to commit together that that is absolutely not acceptable, that's not who we are, and we can do better. Do I have your commitment there? I know that we have your commitment, and we see that spark all throughout the state of Oregon as communities are coming together to end veteran homelessness. Unfortunately, the vision and the reality are not quite connecting yet because veterans are actually more likely to be experiencing homelessness than their civilian counterparts. But the good news is that we have recognition that we can do better, that we must do better, and that we need to put resources and commitment on the table to make an impact. As you may know, Oregon Housing and Community Services recently published our 5-year strategic plan called Breaking New Ground. And so we have made a commitment that over the next 5 years, we are going to work to end veteran homelessness across the state of Oregon. We are also making a commitment to dramatically increase the production of affordable housing. So our commitment is that we will finance 25,000 new homes over the next 5 years. Yes, thank you. I'm very excited about that goal because it's audacious. I mean, we have never done anything at that level before. But the good news is that we're already at more than 9,000 units in our affordable housing development pipeline, and that dwarfs anything that we've ever done before. And when I say we, of course, I mean all of us together, because we're the financing mechanism, but we work with all of you every day to make those visions and those dreams into the reality like the one that you see right here today. So I want to applaud all of you for coming together to end veteran homelessness and to dramatically increase the production of housing that we so desperately need. And then finally, I want to take a moment to just thank and recognize our elected leaders. It's been incredible watching what's happening in the state legislature, and it's champions like Representative Meek who are making a huge change in terms of the landscape of funding availability. And I'll just give you one example. The legislature came together in 2018 and they tripled a funding source called the document recording fee. It was not an easy fight. It was a very challenging conversation. But because of that increase in funds for the document recording fee, that is an ongoing funding stream, not only for affordable housing development, but for services and housing development dollars specifically targeted to veterans. So if we're going to take this challenge seriously and we're really going to make that commitment together to end veteran homelessness, we need the ongoing funding stream, the ongoing resources, and the legislature stepped up and they put the money where their mouth is. And that funding source is what's funded this development here today, and it's what's opening doors all over the state of Oregon. So I want to thank our legislative champions for that work. I want to just embarrass Representative Meek for a moment and give him a round of applause for that leadership. Really incredible commitment. And I also want to thank and recognize the local leadership, the county commissioners who came together, all the local officials who are elected in our communities across the state who are stepping up to recognize that housing strategies and housing solutions across the continuum are absolutely critical to make sure that not only we do right by our community members, that everyone has a safe and stable place to call home, but that this is a critical part of economic development and building the infrastructure of the state for the future. We're seeing more and more recognition of that, and I want to thank and recognize your leadership in doing that. And then finally, to the residents and families here, I just want to say welcome home. We're thrilled to be in this together, and we couldn't be happier to celebrate with you today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Margaret. Just like I mentioned, very instrumental part of our housing equation here and getting things accomplished. So thank you so much. Part of our brain trust, I'll say. I am honored to introduce our next speaker as both a friend and a community collaborative partner in working on the creating the solutions and coming up with solutions that some of the problems that we're facing here in our local community in the Clackamas County. And so Paul is a small business owner like myself. He also lives in unincorporated urban Clackamas County like myself. Paul and his wife Suzanne have been Oak Grove citizens since he moved his automotive tuning business to Oak Grove in 1983. Paul has been active in his community leadership since 2001, maybe sooner, but officially in 2001 that I'm aware of. And he's became a Clackamas County Commissioner representing us in 2011. Well, Paul has an engineering mind, and anybody knows about engineers, sometimes they don't necessarily have the, communicative social skills that most people. Paul is the exception to the rule. He's very blessed and able to connect with and communicate with people at a level that he can transfer what their concerns are, make sure they understand that he cares and listens, and that he brings that both integrity and leadership to Clackamas County, representing us and our community. So it's my distinct honor to represent not only all of our other commissioners. I don't want you to be jealous that I have never introduced you that well, but I'd like to introduce our Commissioner, Paul Salas. So.
Wow, who is this guy? Before I get very started, I want to recognize my colleagues on the commission. I saw Commissioner Fisher and Commissioner Schrader. I know Commissioner Humberston. Where's he at? There he is. And Chair Bernard is also here today. So I just want to say that without their support and pushing all the things we've done here at the county, we wouldn't be where we are today. So it's great to be here. Representative Meek, thank you for the introduction. So first of all, on behalf of Clackamas County, I want to just say thanks to all of you. We have a deep commitment towards the unhoused and the homeless, and to veterans, and we've shown that commitment in a number of ways. Our strategic plan identified and my colleagues adopted unanimously as housing for all, veterans included. Our goal by 2019 is to have 0 veterans homeless in Clackamas County, and we're working hard to get there. It's an ambitious goal, but a project like this really helps us along that way. We can't do this alone, and with Northwest Housing Alternatives, their role in this here and in other places around the county. This is our second one. Where's Trell? Trell, where are you? Yeah, he's in the sun. There he is. Without all the work of NHA, we would be really opening some of these doors. Here we are today. So I want to just say a special thank you to the Northwest Housing Alternatives. We're really proud of these projects. We share mutual goals. Obviously today it's vets, and on the heels of Veterans Day, it's especially warming and touching. I'm not a veteran, and people ask me why I'm so driven. Sorry if I get choked up, but come from a family of veterans, a Navy, Army, and Air Force, primarily Navy, and just some experiences earlier in life working close with veterans. Always had a special place in my heart. As you can imagine, there's a lot of work. Trell outlined some of the partners in this, some of the efforts, a lot of information to digest as we plan to work with our partners to really solve a lot of the problems. Housing and homelessness is so complex, and having an engineer's mind and understanding and delving deep into very complex issues, I think the housing one, is probably the most complex social problem I've ever seen. So I'm up for the challenge, and I'm really grateful for all of you being here helping us do that to that end. We need to work together, and we're doing a lot of that. We need to be creative. We're doing a lot of that. And again, I want to just thank everyone here for being here. I'm confident that I can speak for all the county leadership when I say, on the heels of Veterans Day, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for our freedom. Thank you for the sacrifices for those who are with us today and those who are not. It's a special day, and thank you for the service to our nation.
Great speaker so far. Thank you so much, and thank you for recognizing how your involvement. You don't have to necessarily be a veteran to care and support veterans. So that's the truth, because everybody that does stay home, we understand the values that our folks that are serving us have provided. So never be ashamed that you didn't serve. So you are serving us in different ways. So thank you so much. Our last speaker is the honoree in which this community has been named. During the fall of 2018, the county's housing authority reached out to the public and solicited nominations for naming this project to honor a local veteran. Not just any local veteran, but a local veteran that is actually out trying to make a difference in serving their community, their veterans. And so it's with great pleasure that our nominee or honoree today was chosen. And I'll tell you a little bit about Clayton Mohr. U.S. Navy veteran. He was selected out of 97 submissions and 49 unique individuals. Tiffany Shireman nominated her father, Clayton, sharing the engagement and care that he has provided our local veterans, helping them to get to appointments fundraising for medical transport vans for veterans so they can get to their appointments, and just plain old socializing and being there for a veteran when they're a little down and they just need to speak to a good friend. So this gentleman, Clayton Mohr, has been an instrumental part of our local community of veterans, and so it's very, I guess, appropriate that this community has been named after him. Clayton served from 1966 to 1970 as an aviation mechanic with a specialty in hydraulics. He worked on the aircraft carrier USS Hancock in hangars and machine shops in Guam, the Philippines, and Naval Air Station Lemoore in California. He is a Blue Water Navy veteran who was exposed to Agent Orange while serving on open-air ships off the shore of Vietnam and Cambodia during the Vietnam War. And so, Clayton and veteran Clayton understands what it's like to both be exposed and to serve our country at the same time. So thank you for that service. Clayton has held multiple roles with the Oregon City Chapter number 4 of the Disabled American Veterans, and currently serves as a Senior Vice Commander. From the words of our Housing Authority, Jill Smith, it is with great respect for Mr. Mohr's service to our country and community that we honor him and all veterans who serve to ensure our liberty with the opening of the Clayton Mohr Commons. So thank you very much for those words, Jill. And ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome up Mr. Clayton Mohr.
No singing. I'm truly honored by the naming of this Clayton Mohr Commons. Sounds pretty good, huh? I want to thank my wife, 49 years.
There we go. There.
I want to thank my wife of 49 years. She's endured a lot. Thanks to our daughter, Tiffany Mohr Sherman, she submitted my name for this honor. Her family, my 2 grandsons away at college, her husband and his mother, who have been supportive of me. I am truly blessed to have a family and friends who would take time and come see me. I see one active duty Coast Guard officer in the back that I really appreciate her showing up. Also, I would like to thank Clackamas County Commissioners and the Clackamas County Housing Authority for honoring me this way. I think Clayton Mohr Commons is also honoring the veterans that will live here by giving them and their families a secure home that they can be proud of. Pride is a big part of what we need. Now the saying of every old veteran. I'm no hero, but I got to walk with heroes. I'm a member of DAV, Disabled American Veterans. I joined the DAV so I can still walk with heroes. They're a little older and a little slower. Thank you.
We could have not have named this building under a more humble person that deserves this recognition, and we know it's wonderful that his namesake and his current activities will be able to be just continued, and so we look forward to your continued service and involvement with our veterans communities. So thank you one more time, Clayton. Okay, well, I know we're all pretty chilly out there. It's been a beautiful day. We covered, in case of rain, we would have been perfect, but it's a little chilly. So once again, I want to thank all our veterans that are out in our audience this morning, afternoon, and thank you. And thank you for all of our community leaders, both formal and informal leaders that are out there working and advocating. Well, I got to mention my good friend Larry Mosley. Where are you at, sir? He works with the VFW. Larry, where are you at? Oh, Larry, that's right. He had to go to the Rotary meeting. He's going from one meeting to the next. I love Larry Mosley. He's amazing. So he actually helps me stay focused on some of the veteran issues. As you can tell, I get pulled in many different directions, and it's always nice to get rechanneled, refocused on some of the things I really care deeply about and cherish. So once again, thank you all for coming today, and please come inside. And we have some hors d'oeuvres and things. Is that right, Terrell? And it's open house. Take a look through one of the rooms. Couldn't be more just astonished and impressed with this community. So all I ask is make sure you let us know. We're going to be working on more funding and more collaboration. We can build more homes like this so that we can get to zero veteran homelessness. So thank you so much and have a good day.